Tour complete? Is your tour complete? I know you were going across the state.
Yeah, I think we met up with almost 50 different boards of supervisors through the time. Everything from Corinth to Natchez, from the coast to up in the Delta. We were all over. And what we were talking about, Paul, was this $1.8 billion that the legislature has received here. And the fact the county's got about $525 million and the city's got about another $400 million. So the cities and the county's got $900 million to spend. And we were going over the fact that you can spend it on water, sewer, broadband, certain things, tourism, and some lost revenue, and PPE. And then we were also discussing with them that we don't need to we'll never get this money back again. So what I was trying to encourage them was to work with the state. Their $900 million plus our $1.8 billion gives us, as you know, $2.7 billion to spend on water, infrastructure, things like that, sewer, those kinds of things. We can really transform the whole state if we just don't let this be a tobacco fund. No offense to the tobacco fund, but it went away and we never got much of anything out of it. So I was hoping that the boards of supervisors would put their money in some kind of income account or put it in the bank and then come to us and get with our senators and our representatives in January, and let's multiply this. Let's take our 1.8 and add their 9 and come up with something that they could reach further in their planning on. So our outreach for all of the money would be exponential. You know, we'd get instead of getting a $900 million of parts of it, we could get a $2.7 million by matching our money with their money on items that were ready to go. And we discussed a lot. They're planning for the future, Paul. Where they run this water and sewer and broadband is where that city's going to grow.
Did that suggestion find favor?
It did. I was very pleased. A lot of nodding heads, a lot of conversations afterwards that, we needed X amount of money, but if we had Y amount of money, we could go do this. A lot of positives. And we discussed, I spoke to the Board of Supervisors, the entire group at their convention here last week, and I discussed that with them again, that this was an opportunity for us. I have a long relationship with the board. We did all our 16th section land together, the boards of supervisors and I did, worked on a lot of things, and I like our team. I just think we can put together something that joins all of our state money and their state money to make sure we have something that Mississippi will be proud of. Not next year, Paul, but next generation. This is for the grandchildren here. It just fell out of the sky on Mississippi. And we better not blow it this time.
I think when you start looking at the importance of upkeep on infrastructure, the building collapse in Surfside.
Oh, horrible.
Just gives you an idea how important that is. You can't neglect it. We understand it's expensive, but as far as water says, and we've been talking about this for a long time, it's underground. A politician comes in, he or she's elected for 4 years. That's one of the things that they can not mention. It's not visible every single day.
Putting gravel on a road everybody travels on, so it's a lot more visible thing to do. But Paul, I got the sense that we're having great economic years. As you know, our state probably will be close to $1 billion in excess of projected revenues. And most of that, a lot of that's come from corporate taxes, and if you look at the numbers and other gaming taxes, other revenue streams that we've got in the state. But when you look at that, that also is obviously increasing the amount of money that the cities have. Cities and counties have. So they're having good years, and they can take a minute here or take a year. We don't have to spend this, really. We have to obligate it by December 31st of 25 and spend it within 2 years later. So they can take a minute to really look where they want their city to grow, where they want their county to go, what are their deficiencies. I've encouraged them to get their environmental stuff done, your county engineer to get his work done or her work done. Get all of that lined up. When you come to your legislature this year, I'd like for them to come, I've got a plan to do X. I think it's going to cost Y. I need another $300,000 from y'all. And I think those kinds of things will be well received by the legislature.
Will we have a pool of money to pull from that? I mean, is
we got $1.8 billion.
That's going to be ready by then, as far as.
Well, we got half of it already. I think we've already collected like $900 million of it.
Okay. So they just need to have their ducks in order.
If they do, and I think I really thought from my discussions with them both before and after, you could see kind of like, we really need to go down, County Line Road. We really need to go out here, I think that's our growth pattern. And they started looking for not what they need right now. Some of that we need to have. There are places that are collapsing, and one well. But a lot of it is where we're going. And you put that water and sewer down a part of the town that's growing, it's going to grow that way.
Well, when you start talking about you talk about Corinth or any Ecru, Mississippi, it doesn't really matter. Don't you have to have engineers, I would guess, come in? How do you do this? Know what needs to, if it's not causing you any problems now.
Right.
The only way you know that, because it is underground, is if you have to have, you've got some pipes busting, you have to have a boil water. How do you take an assessment of that?
Well, that's a key question, Paul, and I'll tell you why. We don't have enough engineers. We don't have enough construction companies. We don't have enough pipe. We're going to have capacity problems because every other state's got more than we did. Our 1.8 billion is probably 50 billion in California. So what are they looking for? Engineers, pipes, and construction companies. We are going to have to do. That's what I was emphasizing to the county engineer, the boards of supervisors. Get your plans right now, because if you start a year from now, you're not going to find anybody to put it in the ground, or the pipe's not going to come from wherever they're coming from. All of that stuff is going to be faced by the entire country. Every state has the same amount, or much more money in Mississippi.
And see, therein I think lies the problem, because when you start talking about the solution, it's going to be long term, and they think it may not even start till 4 years out. Am I going to be in office in 4 years out?
No, we're not doing that.
Problems. Senate Committee on Personal Income Tax. Where are we now?
Should start our hearings in August. Met with Senator Harkins a couple of times here in the last couple of weeks, getting scheduled who's going to ask to testify. Looking at different alternatives. I think everything's on the table from us for the Senate side. We lean more towards not raising anybody's taxes. The House bill was a step forward, but there were some taxes that were raised in that procedure on tractors and mobile homes and different things.
Yeah.
And that was our Senate was reluctant to do that without a good bit more study. So we're looking at all of the options. I think Senator Harkins is planning for those to begin in August. We'll have a plan prepared for meeting with and we're keeping the House, obviously working with the House on this as well. We'll have a plan by January.
Your degree as a lawyer is in numbers too, isn't it?
Yes, sir. I have a Master of Laws and Taxation.
All right, so I'm going to ask you this. I
got some code sections for you, 61. I can tell you all that stuff if you want to hear.
But it's all wrapping around in that brain, And I'm thinking, okay, would you like to see the personal income tax dropped?
Yes.
All right, how do you personally think, within all of the expertise and wisdom and knowledge and experience and teachings that you have, how would you like to see it done in a simplified basis?
My gut feeling, Paul, is that we help people. We help the people that are working at the lower levels first. Someone that we can help that's out here working really hard and making $50,000 a year, where I can give them a tax break. It has.
But are we doing that? Aren't we? Didn't we do that?
We did do that. We eliminated. I didn't, but the legislature before me eliminated the 3% bracket, and now we have a 4% and a 5%.
So you're talking about doing the same thing, but on a phased-in basis?
Well, I don't know. It just depends on what the numbers show. But I do think that we start with the income tax as the one that the people who are working, particularly people who we want to encourage to work. We only have a 55% labor participation rate in Mississippi, so people who are working are already carrying a very large percentage of what we do here. And I think that's one of the ones that I look at. There are others. People are interested in the grocery tax, and they're interested in other things. And then I want you to know, Paul, when every board meeting or every company that I represented discussed the economic breaks that would be given if they started a company in Mississippi. And that's that MFLEX program that we drafted last year that didn't make it out of the House, and I want it to come out this year.
Accelerate Mississippi.
It's called MFLEX.
MFLEX, okay.
And it was drafted by basically by us and all of the economic developers to make us competitive.
I guess the question is this. When you start saying, okay, you and you won't have to pay a little bit more, Is it going to fall apart, or is there a way? And you can answer this when we come back, because we got lots to talk about. I see it in the studio. It is the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Mississippi, Delbert Hosemann. So you think there is a way, but again, the other part of this, and we were talking about this off the air, is it that big of a deal as far as bringing people into the state?
It is a positive, Paul, to have less taxes. It always is, but. Every board meeting I sat in, and I probably sat in thousands of them for small businesses in Mississippi, every single one of them talked about the key 4 or 5 things, which are educated workforce. Have I got somebody that can run my machines or deliver my stuff or whatever? Educated workforce was number 1. Then after education, you start talking about the infrastructure, whether or not we could get water and sewer to a location. Can we get our products to an interstate? Then you start talking about quality of life issues. Is it safe in the community? Do they have a good school system? Those kinds of basic things. And the electricity rates come into that, and water availability, those kinds of things. Nowhere in any of those conversations over the 30 years that I did that did anybody ever say, well, what is a tax rate for the executive? I mean, it just wasn't done. And in a recent study I got from a local CPA firm here, it's doing good work, actually. Horn's really a regional one. We had about the same number of people come in from Tennessee that we had go to Tennessee last year. So, and they're a 0 tax rate. We are a very low tax rate when you look at the families of 4 or whatever, or single mom or dad making $35,000 or $40,000. We compare very well with the South, except for Tennessee, which Tennessee has a lower rates than us.
How do they fill the volume there? Is it tourism or the vacancy, or the vacuum?
Well, I think mainly it's through the property tax issues and the sales tax. Their sales tax is 9.5%, Paul. Ours is 7%. So everybody up there pays 2.5% more on everything you buy, and that's where the money comes from.
That's the way they did it with sales tax. Well, we are talking basically the same thing about 9 or 9.5%.
Right. We talked in the House proposal, it was to raise it to 9.5, I think, or 9.6. I can't remember one of those.
How long is this Senate committee going to meet?
We'll have our tax proposal ready for January.
You will have it?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've talked to Chairman Blackwell.
Yes.
There was a story yesterday or day before yesterday as far as just giving us an idea how much longer it's going to be. He says about 2 weeks. What's your take on, as the leader of the Senate, you think 2 weeks is about what it's going to take?
Well,
we're talking about the medical marijuana.
Right, on the medical marijuana. On the hearings, first of all, we transcribe those. If you have any questions about this, you ought to, and you really are interested in medical marijuana, go back. It's archived on the Senate thing. You can see every word that was spoken last time and the time before that when Senator Hobb Bryan had his hearing. I would strongly encourage you to do that. There were several things that I thought were of real strong interest there. One, how many people get it and get a medical marijuana card? In Oklahoma, it's about 400,000. In Utah, is like 1 to 3% of the population, eligible population. Big differences between the two. In Oklahoma, the senator that really drafted the Oklahoma bill said, one thing we really have to be careful on is that we now have growing anywhere in the state. And what has happened is a lot of our farmers have sold their land, and we are growing pot for illegal distribution because we have no control over it. And that the, quote, cartels, close quote, have come up here and are laundering their money through Oklahoma.
Jeez.
He said, we have 20, listen to
this. This is outdoor production.
That's correct.
For the most part.
And he said, we have 25 people trying to catch everybody, basically their group that regulates this. He said he's going to propose 150 employees just to try to stop
But they didn't do it through Constitution. They did it through the legislature,
right.
So they can change that. Good thing.
I don't know whether they're going to change it or not. That wasn't part of the discussion, but I encourage everybody to listen to him. And also the senator was excellent from Utah, the problems they had and the things that they went through. The Senate now has had 2 of these hearings, blank hearings that Senator Bryan has done. I do think that we are now prepared to begin the initial drafting of that. Senator Bryan it's his committee. Senator Blackwell does Medicare and Medicaid part. He's been integral. He did the last marijuana bill that we passed twice in the session before the House wouldn't pass it. So we're back into that. We're very well schooled on it, having drafted them during the last session. So I anticipate that we'll start seeing drafts, but those need to be brought before the committees themselves. We had a pretty packed house of senators there yesterday. Senator McMahon was there. Senator Polk was there. Senator Blackwell was there. Senator Blackman from Canton was there. Vice Chairman. Senator Wiggins from the coast. We had a lot of people there.
From what you've seen, where does smoking, not smoking stand?
I'd say it's probably on the low side. Most of the discussions that I'm hearing in the hallways down there, there's some trepidation about the smoking side, and if it's medical marijuana, can you get medical marijuana in the gummy range without going to a smoking one? So I'm hearing more of the non-smoking than I am the smoking, but that'll come out in this legislation.
I understand. I'm a little curious. What was the feedback from the other states? Certainly the ones that were Republican controlled. Did they
both of those are very red states, as you know, Oklahoma and Utah.
Did they give you some input as far as smoking versus non-smoking?
They did, and one of the discussions were on the non-smoking side in the Utah part, and I can't remember what Oklahoma did. Theirs was so much looser. Their application fees across the state, across the country, range from $5,000 to $100,000. We had the lady that's from the National Association of State Legislatures. She gave an excellent presentation and broke down where states are, how many states do this, what do you charge, all that other stuff.
Is the inclination of the Senate, I'm going to run some questions by because I don't want to give out of time here.
Yes,
so is the inclination to allow outdoor as well as indoor production?
No.
Only indoor?
Yes.
Is the tax rate looking at around 9.5%, 10% or more?
I don't have a real feel for the rate. Our normal rate is 7%. We just got through discussing that. So that's kind of a place to start for us. Then you've got the license fees. Remember, in this process, you've got a grower, a processor, and a distributor.
Right. Sometimes
they're vertically integrated, which means the same person has all three. Other times, you got a grower that sells to a processor that sells to a retailer.
One more question on the medical marijuana.
So you may have taxes between those two.
I got you. It's a combination of different taxes. What's the feeling from your perspective as far as autonomy or the ability of a municipality to opt out?
Well, the reason we're here is Mary Hawkins, and she wants to opt out. So I think we ought to at least give her the opportunity to opt out. I don't want her to sue us again. We've been there. We didn't do too good.
All right, well, that answers that question. And I know we only got a few more minutes here, but I want anything else that you want to mention because there are a lot of other things going on.
Well, I think that we don't dedicate this process. We don't dedicate it. Education has great needs. The roads, bridge. I mean, you go down a list of things, but I think this just comes. We're uncertain. Some states may get 30 or 40 million. Some states may get 100 million from this. We're uncertain as to how much money is going to come in. So I think it goes into the general fund as opposed to some designation. I don't know that we need to do that. So I do think that real proud of the Senate. We're a deliberative body. We've had a really good hearings, great witnesses, people. It's very transparent, Paul. Everybody can see it. I looked yesterday on the web. I think we had 800 or 900 people watching that thing.
But there's no underground current that will show up a little stronger than we expected as far as recreational marijuana.
Could be. I mean, there certainly is some people. I've had senators tell me that they were for recreational marijuana. Absolutely. I'm on at least two different conversations.
Has there been any communication with the House at all as far as
they were
kind of
at
bill
the hearings yesterday and at lunch, and of course I'm sure they were watching the hearings, but they were there at the hearings. Several of them were. And then they were able to watch from home, so I can't tell you how many others were watching. But I expect this to be a joint effort. Right. Obviously the Senate's leading it in this particular instance.
Medicaid expansion going into the summertime here. Is there any talk as far as the meetings? Where are we on that as far as the Senate side?
We'll have a delivery of health care hearings beginning in August. Want to get this one behind us. As you can tell, we're very busy.
I know.
We're working.
I know.
Our part-time job has turned into a full-time job.
So that meeting will be coming up when?
In August.
Will telemedicine be part of that?
Pardon me?
Telemedicine.
Yes, telemedicine will be in the insurance committee. That's coming in September.
So that will be in September to
Yes, sir.
discuss a way to take care of that.
That's right, telemedicine, and that's Senator
terrible mistake that was made.
Right, Senator Michelle will be handling that, and I think his hearing is the second week of September, second or